Hello, everyone, and welcome to my Journey of Cherie YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe, click the button down below so you can always receive notifications when I record. I hope you guys enjoyed your Martin Luther King Day, and hopefully you did something productive. I just wanted to come in and just talk to you guys a little about the kind of day I had today. So if you guys have been following me on my podcast or on my Facebook Live, I mentioned that I was going to start therapy again. So last week was my first session and today was my second one. And she's a new therapist for me because the therapist that I was with for about a year and a half, she recently relocated. So I found another therapist and we mesh very well. So today we talked about boundaries. And I never knew I had issues with boundaries. Not that I cross boundaries, but that for certain people, I don't have any boundaries in place for them. And I never knew that. So in therapy today, she was asking me different questions. Like, why do you feel that certain people take advantage of your kindness? And I had to think, because for me, it was like I always thought because, maybe something's wrong with them. People, I am aware that people out here are users. So I was like, maybe, they're users, or maybe they don't realize that they are taking advantage of me. But she asked me today, Cherie, well, do you have any boundaries in place for certain people? And I'm like, okay, well, what does that look like? She said, it's a wall to where you're only willing to do or give so much. And so people will know what to expect from you and what not to expect from you. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, I have boundaries for a lot of people. But I had to realize today in therapy that there are people in my life that I haven't put boundaries up for them. And I was like, wow, I never knew that's what it was that was missing. But for me, as I explained to her, I didn't know that boundaries was necessary for everyone in your life. And she said, absolutely there is. She said, because if you don't have any boundaries in place, how are people supposed to know what it is that you're willing to accept or what it is that you're not willing to accept? And me, the kind of person that I am, I'm a thinker. So I'm like, well, if I wouldn't do that to you, I mean, it should be the same for the other person as well. But again, everybody is not me and I'm not everybody. So in some of the relationships that I haven't put boundaries in place for them, I experience my most issues with them. And I just never knew what it was. And now that I know, I'm moving forward with, she's helping me figure out the kind of boundaries that I need to have. And it's hard because going from never having boundaries with someone to now having to set them, I'm like, okay, so what does that look like moving forward? What kind of conversations do I need to have with certain people? And she was like, well, before you can have conversations with people, you need to write down what does boundaries look like for you, Cherie? If you put them into place, what do you think will happen due to you having boundaries? Because you do have to be aware of, now that you didn't have boundaries in place for certain people in your life, that they're going to see a difference in you. And some people might think you're acting brand new. Some people might not understand where this is coming from. So I have to be prepared for those kind of questions and situations that take place. And I think for me, that kind of makes me uncomfortable. Because now I have to have some very important conversations that is going to make me uncomfortable, because now I have to explain to you why I have to put these boundaries here. And that can be uncomfortable, because when people are just used to doing and saying, things to you, that's just what they're used to doing. And I've been used to allowing those things to happen. So it was really tough hearing that. It was really tough hearing that because I would like to think for the most part that I speak for myself. I defend myself. I carry myself in a certain manner that, I would just like to think that people just wouldn't want to say certain things to me. But I also have another side to me. I'm very nice. I'm very sweet. Sometimes I give you too many passes because I just sweep it under the rug or take it on the chin. And a lot of times I don't address certain things. Like, it depends on who you are. If something bothers me, I think that I will bring it to your attention if I feel like you are one of those people that I know knows how to have a conversation without being offensive or, end up being aggressive. Those kind of people, I just don't even pay any mind to. But what that did to me in those relationships, it allowed them to a degree to feel like they could say what they want to say and do what they want to do. And then how I handle things, I just shut down. And that's not good for me, and it's definitely not good for them, because it's a place that I go to when I shut down. And it's not a good place, and it's not a healthy place. It's a place that place is kind of like, I have to sit with myself. I have to sit with my thoughts. I have to sit with my feelings. I have to sit with the fact of knowing what part did I play in this. Because relationships is a two-way street. People only do what you allow. And I understand that. And I am aware of that. So it's kind of like I had to ask myself, why do you let people get away with the things you let them get away with? And I'm like, I don't know. But my therapist said, yes, you do know. And I said, Cherie, yes, you do know. And I do know. And what I told her was, sometimes I deal with people with kid gloves. Like if I think you might not be able to handle something I'm getting ready to say, then I try to figure out another way of saying it. And sometimes that other way is just not saying it at all. And that doesn't help anyone. And then now I'm stewing in my feelings, and the resentment is growing. And then I'm upset with myself because it's like, you had an opportunity to let somebody know how you feel, and you didn't do it, because I'm always worried about other people's feelings. Like, I don't like to hurt people's feelings. But a lot of times I end up getting my feelings hurt. Crazy, right? And it just doesn't feel good. So I had to sit back and think about the question she asked me today. Why do you not address certain situations? Or why do you address certain situations the way you do? And I told her that I treat people the way I want to be treated. And so for me, when I see, if I see that it's a possibility that it could end up in a conflict and something won't get resolved, I tiptoe around certain conversations. And then I'm upset later on because I had an opportunity to let somebody know how they made me feel, and I didn't take that opportunity. So again, you can't blame anybody but yourself. And I take full accountability for anything I do. And so I had to really think about that today. It took me like 10 minutes, and she sat there and waited for me to come up with an answer. And what I came up with is, I put my face on people, meaning I look at them and I see myself. And I say, how would I want somebody to talk to me? What would I want somebody to say to me? But the part I'm leaving out is I don't put the grown 40-year-old Cherie on the person's face. I put the teenager. I put the young adult. I put the child Cherie on someone's face. And then I deal with them, which means I deal with them with caution. I deal with them quietly. I deal with them respectfully. And I'm very mindful of what I should or should not say. And while I'm doing all of that, I've lost the message. And once I was able to sit with myself and figure out that is what I do, it was like a aha moment. And I was like, damn, Ray, you got to get it together. And so she gave me a homework assignment that is due when I go back next week, because I go to therapy once a week. And the questions she gave me are very tough. Very tough. I have to think about 5 people in my life, or that have been in my life, that I have not set boundaries for them. And then at the bottom, tell what happened with those relationships due to me not setting boundaries. And the scariest part is I instantly thought about who the 5 people were. And not all of them are in my life anymore. And I'm sure a big part of that reason, now that I could sit here and think about it, is because I didn't have any boundaries. I let things go too far. And so I made a decision last week in therapy that I will no longer do that. If something bothers me, if something doesn't feel right in my spirit, I'm addressing it. I'm going to make time to address it. I'm going to find a way to make sure I say it respectfully, which is not hard for me. I'm going to find time to work on that, because it's so important. Because now that I'm meeting so many new people that I don't know, and that I'm learning to know, and they're learning to know me, I have to set boundaries. I cannot be that old Cherie that's just so loving and kind and like, oh yeah, sure, you want, I can help you. I gotta stop that, because I put myself in positions that I end up being used. And it's not their fault, because again, people only do what you allow. So that was a powerful session today. I cried. I'm emotional. And I'm very sensitive. I cried today, but it was just like a release to finally understand what it is that I do, because I just could not figure it out. I'm like, why did that person think that was okay to do? Why did that person think that was okay to say to me? And I just was like, darn, they got some things they need to figure out. Whole time, I got some things I need to figure out. And so, this is a part of that journey of Cherie, because the journey is not always about everything in your past, because that is a part of who you are. But this journey I'm on is a very long journey, even into my adult years, because every day I try to become a better Cherie every single day. And today I learned about boundaries. I know people are probably like, damn, it took you this long? Hey, there's things I still don't know. And when I figure them out, I'll be right here letting you guys know. So I hope that you enjoyed this quick little chat about boundaries. If you have any questions or suggestions or even a story to tell about boundaries, maybe you know about boundaries, maybe you are good with setting boundaries, maybe you need help. I got some worksheets. Let me tell you, I'll send them to you. But I would like to hear your opinion and definitely some suggestions, please. So you can comment down below. Make sure you like and share this video. And I hope you guys have a very, very good evening. And so, until next time.